Section 23, and let me read the paragraphs to you first. He continued, Subhuti, this Dharma is universal and impartial. It is called supreme enlightenment. The practice of all good virtues, Damas, free from attachment to an ego, a personality, and a being, and a life, will result in the attainment of supreme enlightenment. Subhuti, the so-called good virtues, the Tathagata says, are not good, but are expediently called good virtues. Why is Subhuti always asking questions? Why is Subhuti one of the most important disciples in this sutra? Because Subhuti is the disciple of the Buddha who knows emptiness the most. He knows the prashnaparamita of emptiness. And he said, so the Buddha said, Subhuti, this Dharma is universal and impartial. It is called supreme enlightenment. And achieving supreme enlightenment, how do you practice? It says here, the practice of all good virtues, free from attachment to ego, personality, a being, and a life, will result in the attainment of supreme enlightenment. That means, if you free yourself of the ego, no more ego. Remember the four fallacious concepts of an individual identity. We always think that we have an ego. We are living in the prison of our own ego. This prison, we have been very comfortable in it for a long time. That's our comfortable prison. We live in it, and that prison is called the prison of the ego, personality, beings, and life. So the whole question, remember Subhuti asked that question, how do we keep our anuttara samya sambuddhi mind at rest continuously, and how do we control our mental afflictions, try to eliminate mental afflictions? So you really have to understand, maybe let us review it again, what is the four fallacious individual identity concept? Ego, personality, beings, and life. What is the ego? You really have to review it all the time. There's I, the subject, the giver, the five skandhas. Sentient beings attached to the notion of the ego and the five skandhas. What are these five skandhas? What is this ego make up of? What am I make up of? How do you analyze me, I, you, everybody? I am make up of what? The five skandhas. So we are make up of the body and mind. And this body and mind is I. And we always think this is I'm the subject. And this body also has the six senses. The eyes corresponds to form, ears correspond to sound, nose corresponds to smell, tongue corresponds to taste, body corresponds to touch, tactile object. And the mind corresponds to what? Corresponds to everything that is sentient or non-sentient, everything else. We always, our senses always try to correspond and interact with all these environments, with all these factors, with all these, we call them the pollutants. And we interact accordingly. Because of these interactions, anger arises, greediness arises, jealousy arises, anxiety arises, disappointment arises, fear arises, greediness arises. All these mental afflictions arises because all my senses interact with the outside world. And I feel comfortable in it because this is my comfort zone for so many billions of years. But you think it's comfort zone, but it's been carrying you through reincarnation after reincarnation, non-stop. And that is the prison that we're living in. And this prison cell, we're all enclosed with wars. As I always mention, sometimes the saint look at the window and say, wake up. You have this little hole and you slide the window open and you say, oh, you watch out. You watch out, oh, there's a lot of horizons, whole vistas of things outside. There's a whole free will outside. But how come I lock myself in my prison, in my ego prison? And I feel comfortable in it. So, that's my ego. How about personality? Personality is all those other sentient beings beside yourself. How about beings? Beings is all those other non-sentient existence. All those correspondences that you have. Form, sounds, fragrance, smell, taste, all these objects. You are the subject and there's the objects. All those different objects, you interact with them. When you interact with them, jealousy, hatred, violence, anger, anxiety, fear, all these things arises in you. And what is life? Finally, ego, personality, beings, and life. What is this life? Continuity of thoughts. All this erroneous thought that this is my comfort zone has been erroneously carried life after life after life in reincarnation. So, what I'm saying is, ego, personality, beings, and life, if you really practice and practice, there are 4 levels to go. And if you are successfully have achieved eliminating all these, you become the arahats out of reincarnation. But is that the ultimate? No. You have something that you know. What you know is an obstruction to you. So you really have to empty out this Dharma too. The Dharma of eliminating ego, personality, beings, and life, that Dharma has to go. So no Dharma. No Dharma. Eliminate the Dharma. Even the no Dharma has to be eliminated. Empty out the no Dharma. You see all this emptying out until there's nothing to be obtained. No wisdom, no fear. When there's nothing to be obtained, there's no obstacles in your mind. When there's no obstacles in your mind, you're completely eliminated. You're completely liberated from the bondage of reincarnation, from the bondage of life and death. You're free. We're not free. We're not free now. We are being bonded. Suputi, if a man in his practice of charity gives away the 7 treasures piled up in a heap as great as all the Mounts Sumeru in the universe put together, and another man receives, holds in mind, reads and recites even a 4-line stanza of the Prajnaparamita Sutra and explains it to others, the merit of the former's dana will not be worth 100, 1,000, 110,000, and 100,000 part of that obtained by the latter, as no conceivable comparison can be made between the two. Now, in this chapter, the Buddha introduced some comparisons. When we're giving out, we give out either in terms of money or in kinds, in materials. And giving out charity includes many things, not just material, not just money. When you give out a smile, gives out some efforts, give out some comfort to others, it's also charity. So charity is not always in terms of money, and not always in terms of other materials either. It could be in terms of moral support, in terms of, as I always mention, good morning was smile or comforting sentence, or anything that make people feel happy. So the Buddha make a comparison. Why did he make a comparison? In the sutras, there are 6 comparisons so far. The first comparison is compare the teaching to understanding and practicing the teaching to giving out treasures as much as to fill the whole millions of worlds. The second comparison is compared to giving treasures as compared to fill the whole countless universe as compared to practicing and understanding the Buddhist teaching. The third was an offering as many lives as there are grains of the sand in the river Ganges. Even if you donate your life away, as compared to understanding and practice the sutra's meaning. And thus the fifth is contrast this teaching with the merits from venerating countless Buddhas. So all these different comparisons tell us that how come that by giving away so much material, treasures and jewels and even lives, is not as meritorious as understanding the sutra and practicing according to the sutra. That's what is said in here. The merit is not as much by just giving materials away as understanding and practicing the sutra. How come we always make that comparison in here? Because when you donate countless quantity of jewels and treasures, materials, these jewels and treasures are just material, and any material would disintegrate. Material is subject to arising and maintaining itself, and then disintegration. It would perish. Everything is transient, is temporary. It doesn't last for long. All materials, all matters, they don't last for long. There's no matter that would last forever, subject to disintegration. But if you understand spiritually or morally the meaning of this sutra and practice accordingly, you or other sentient beings will get enlightenment. Enlightenment is extremely important because when you're enlightened, you also let other people enlightened. It's just like an analogy of if there's so many poor homes and they're starving, they don't have food all the time, and you're giving them food. Why do they starve? Maybe because they couldn't get a job. They're not educated enough. So you continuously supply them with materials that could fill up houses, like food and canned food, or whatever you want, whatever food you have. But that act of giving, the merit is not as meritorious as giving them the education so that they can survive for themselves. Giving them the good education so they can go out to work, so that they know how to get survival. So that if you're just supplying them with materials, it's not as meritorious than giving the education, educating them so that they can survive themselves. You're helping them permanently to achieve that survival level, rather than helping them each day, giving them some food each day. It's the same comparison. If you enlighten yourself, enlighten others, the whole world is going to be one purity. There will be no crime, no killing, no stealing, no raping, no wars, no strife, no genocide, you name it. No more oppressions of animals, no more killing of animals. The whole world will be a world of compassion and mercifulness. It's all pure. So that enlightenment is more important than giving out the materials. That's what it's getting at. Let's get to the next paragraph. We'll get to section 25. Subhuti, what do you think? You should not say the Tathagata has his thought in his mind, I should liberate living beings. Subhuti, you should not think so. Why? Because there are really no living beings whom the Tathagata can liberate. If there were, the Tathagata would hold the concept of an ego, a personality, a being, and a life. Subhuti, when the Tathagata speaks of an ego that is in reality no ego, although common men would think so. Subhuti, the Tathagata says common men are not, but are just expediently called the common men. It sounds very profound. It contains a lot of paradoxical sentences, but it isn't. Why did the Buddha say, Subhuti, you should not say that the Tathagata, Tathagata means the Buddha. The Buddha has 10 epithets, 10 other different names. And one of the names is Tathagata. So the Buddha said, Subhuti, the disciple, you should not say that the Buddha has his thought in mind. What kind of thought? The thought that I should liberate all living beings. You should not have that. You should not think that way. Why? Why did the Buddha liberate sentient beings, helping sentient beings, and at the same time, he would not say, I help sentient beings, I save sentient beings. Why? Buddha Sakyamuni existed in the history of mankind 2,600 years ago. To help sentient beings in their liberation, to help them to attain enlightenment. We must not think that in the Buddha's mind he would think, I come to liberate sentient beings. I am the savior. I liberate all sentient beings because of my compassion. I help them. I liberate them. The Buddha would not think that way, because the Buddha has no discrimination as to the subject and the object. He won't say, I am the savior. I save you. I liberate you. He won't say that. If he say that, if he have that conception in his mind, then he's not detached from the egoistic thinking. He still have that notion of I and you and him and they. He shouldn't have that discrimination. So the Buddha is reminding Subhuti, don't think that the Buddha would think, I am the savior, I am liberating sentient beings, I am helping sentient beings. It's just like when a charity organization is helping, if he help without attachment, that is real helping. And Joe is starving, and I'm helping out Joe. The whole family is starving. But I won't say, hey Joe, your family, I'm your savior. I help you out. I liberate you. You should have been dead, but I liberate you. You won't do it that way. You help without attachment. You help without saying, I am the subject, you are the object. I am the subject, you are the object. Here is the object that is giving to you, food giving to you. There's a discrimination. There's a discrimination in between. That means in your hidden ego, you still have that egoistic feeling that you are superior, you're better. The Buddha is at that level that no more discrimination exists, no more ego, no more I, no more of that. So it says here, it reminds the Subhuti, don't think about that. Don't think about that. When I'm liberating sentient beings, I have that egoistic feeling in mind. That's what it means. Next. Why? Because there are really no living beings whom the Tathagata liberate. The Buddha came to liberate sentient beings, but in the complete and ultimate purity of the Buddha's wisdom, there is no sentient beings as the objects of liberation, and there is no Buddha as the subject or the savior of the liberation. There is no discrimination, no attachment, no ego, personality, beings, and life. Of course, we already defined ego, personality, beings, and life. No such thing. Sentient beings exist on causality. For those who don't know what causality means, you have to research into it. It's a very profound philosophy, simultaneous causality. And they have no real nature. Sentient beings have no real nature, but they exist on causality. They are subject to changeability. You, me, all of us are subject to changeability. Nothing eternal in us. Our body. What is our body made up of? The 5 skandhas, or the body and mind. We're made up of, what is this individual called I? this individual entity make up of? Who am I make up of? Do you have to analyze yourself? Why are we meditating? Why are we meditating? Now, when a beginner comes to a temple, what is it that he's interested in? Interested in the lunch? I heard that temple has a good lunch. Let's go for a free lunch. Is that what you're interested in? You lose the objective. You lose the purpose. It's a good lunch, right? Somebody donate the lunch out. Don't abuse it. They donate the lunch out for you to achieve that spirituality level, to be wiser, so that you can render more help to others, so that you can understand the world better, so that you can understand yourself better. They have a good objective in mind. We don't abuse it. So when we come to the temple, I said, you got to pay attention, you got to be mindful, because here is some enthusiastic people who donate all that, and he expects us to learn. He expects us to be better. So that's why we have to pay more attention. We have to absorb. That's good for you. So what is this I make up of? This I is made up of the body and mind. You have a body, right? You have a mind. That body is material, and the Buddha categorized the body into 5 elements. We call it the 5 skandhas, or the 5 aggregates. So there's 1 is matter, and there's 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. We continue with section 26, page 25. It says here, Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics? Subhuti replied, yes, he can. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if the Tathagata can be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics, a world ruler, Chakravarti, would be the Tathagata. Subhuti said to the Buddha, World Honored One, as I understand your teaching, the Tathagata cannot be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics. Then the World Honored One recited the following Gata. He who sees me by outward appearance and seeks me in sound treads the heterodox path and cannot perceive the Tathagata. Let's get to the first sentence. It says, Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics? And then Subhuti replied, yes, he can. Now, why did the Buddha ask this question? The Buddha asked this question because the Buddha wants us to not to cling to form and appearances. But he mentioned the 32 attributes. Now, if the 32 attributes, we already mentioned what are the 32 attributes. If the 32 attributes are not the attributes, why speak of the 32 attributes? In order to understand that, we have to know that there are 2 kinds of Buddha Damas. Buddha Damas, if we can categorize it into 2 kinds, we have 2 kinds. One is the temporal, worldly truth, which leads sentient beings to cultivate the path of merits. So, one is the temporal, worldly truth, which leads us to cultivate the path of merits. What are these? For example, being kind, practicing endurances, practicing charity, observing precepts. All this is cultivating the path of merits. A lot of merits will come out. Good effects will come out if you're cultivating all this. Another path, another Dharma is the other is ultimate final truth, which leads beings to cultivate the path of wisdom. So there's 2 kinds. One is the cultivation of merits, and the other is the cultivation of wisdom. For the cultivation of merits, in terms of which is the temporal truth, the worldly truth, in terms of the temporal truth, we speak of the 32 attributes. Why? Because whatever cause you cultivate, good effects will come out. remember the 6 paramitas: giving, charity, observing precepts, endurances, diligence, meditation, and prajna. So if you always give, if you're always compassionate and kind, if you cultivate these causes, meritorious effects will come out. So ultimately the 32 attributes will come out. So this is the path of the merits, which is the temporal, worldly truth. But the other one is the ultimate final truth, which leads to cultivate of wisdom. So in terms of ultimate truth, Tathagata, we speak of no attributes. Why? Because the ultimate truth cannot be perceived in form. The Tathagata cannot be perceived in form. Remember, the first question is, can the Tathagata be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics? The Tathagata, not saying the Buddha. The Buddha is the physical form. The Tathagata is the ultimate invisible true reality. How can the ultimate invisible truth be perceived in form? So in terms of ultimate truth, we speak of no attributes. Don't attach to attributes. But in terms of temporal truth or provisional truth, worldly truth, there are such things as cause and effect. You cultivate good cause, good effects will come out. You cannot avoid that. Good causality won't disappear. So because of the path of merit, or the temporal truth, we speak of 32 attributes. Because of the path of wisdom, we speak of no attributes. Because wisdom, Tathagata, prajna cannot be perceived in form. So in terms of Nirmanakaya, or transformation body, or the physical body, we speak of the 32 attributes. Because the Buddha has the 32 attributes. We all know what the 32 attributes, meritorious attributes is. In terms of Nirmanakaya, in terms of the physical body, the transformation body, there are the 32 attributes. But in terms of the Dhammakaya, the real body, the ultimate body, the Tathagata, we speak of no attributes. How can you see? No attributes to be seen. There was a Zen master, and I think his name is Dao Chun, and he said, you want to make a Buddha, you make clay and you carve the wood, you make the clay and you carve the wood, you carved it, and then you paint it with different color, green, orange, yellow and red, and then you gold leafed it, you gild it with gold leaf, and make it into a Buddha statue. But if you think the Buddha looks like this, the goddess of compassion would die from laughter. You make all this beautiful, it's a beautiful Buddha, meritorious, with lots of good things, earlobes, bright gold. If you think that the real Buddha looks like that, Avalokitesvara would die from laughter. So when we cultivate, we should make sure that we don't become attached to appearances and form. All of us attach to forms and appearances. Some people practice with such diligence that they acquire certain powers. For example, maybe in the samadhi, they see lights, they see flowers, they feel very, very light and drifting. They have all sorts of imaginations and hallucinations sometimes. Don't attach to them. Don't think that, I'm enlightened. I'm better. I'm getting good, and I got all these flowers, and I got all this light. Don't attach to forms. Let them come and let them go. We should maintain an indifferent attitude to these appearances and forms. They are signs, though indicative of your advancement in practice, and when you have deeper concentration, there's a lot of these kind of things, these images come out. Sometimes images of your past life will come out. And sometimes you're in meditation, if you really have the concentration, my previous life was this. I was a boy in the Middle East, and I was doing this and I was that. I a lady in 1200 BC, and I was a slave, and I was performing these dances for the king. All sorts of things come out in reincarnation, not just on the psychiatrist's couch that you retell all these stories. They put you in a hypnotic situation, and then you tell all this about your past life. Not just that. Sometimes in your meditation, you be able to know your past life. Not just in hypnosis, right? Hypnosis situations. So when these things come, don't attach to them. It's just like when the clouds drift by the mountain, let it drift by. You're the mountain, you're untouched. The clouds is moving, but you're not moving with the clouds. When it comes, you don't annihilate it, you don't eliminate it, let it come. Let it come. The images come, the flowers come, the light come, let it come and let it go. All right, that's next. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if the Tathagata can be recognized by his 32 physical characteristics, a world ruler, Chakravarti, would be Tathagata. So the Buddha said, Subhuti, you think that the Tathagata possess and should be recognized by the 32 characteristics? If you think that way, then a Chakravarti would be the Tathagata. Why? Chakravarti is wheel-turning sage king. In pre-Buddhist Indian tradition, this refers to a sagely, benevolent, capable ruler. This ruler is an ideal ruler who also possessed the 32 attributes of the Buddha. Chakravarti also possessed the 32 attributes of the Buddha. Why? Because in his previous life, he had cultivated so many merits, so many good deeds, that in this life, he is the universe ruler. You can't see him, of course. He ruled the universe. We can see the Chakravarti, because we're not in that position to see. We can't even see beings in heaven. Our eyes, our ears, our nose, our senses are not qualified enough to see heavenly bodies, heavenly beings. Our senses are very restricted. So Chakravarti possessed the 32 characteristics, just as like the Buddha's characteristics. But he's not the Buddha, he's not enlightened. He just possessed the 32 attributes because in his previous lifetime, he cultivated all these good causes. He gave out, he endured, he'd been diligent, he'd been compassionate, he's been doing all these good deeds that make him possess these 32 attributes. So if you see someone who looks good, oh, how come that guy is a handsome guy and that guy is not a handsome guy? He cultivates his own cause. That handsome guy may be in his previous lifetime, he had endurances. He wouldn't get mad under any kind of situation. He's helpful. And in this life, he looks good. And this guy is just the opposite. He looks bad. You are the creator of yourself. You bring your karma along with you. How come somebody's sound, and when you voice it out, his sound is dulcet, is pleasant to the ears, very convincing, whereas some others, stammering all the times, not clear in his speech, not a good speaker, not convincing, the sound is not pleasant. They were born with a different sound. Why? Not without a reason. They cultivate different causes. Some people born with a musical note in their mind, with the ingenuity of music in their mind. Some people were born, don't even know how to tap a note. Can't play piano, can't play any music instruments because his blood does not contain the musical note. But some people, you don't really have to train them. In many of these shows, people said that. They just go up to the stage and they can sing. Young girls of 5 or 6 or 4 or 7 or 8, once they listen to a song, they can immediately sing. according to the note in the song. Why? Because it brings back memory for them. In the previous life, they learned it and they brought it forward to this life. So, a Chakravarti has 32 attributes similar to the Buddha's. So, Buddha said, if you think that the Buddha can be recognized, the Tathagata can be recognized by the 32 attributes, then the universe king is the Buddha. So that's not right. Don't think it that way. That's not right. Don't think about that way. Next sentence would be section 27, I think. Subhuti, if you have this thought, the Tathagata does not rely on his possession of characteristics to obtain supreme enlightenment. Subhuti, banish the thought. The Tathagata does not rely on his possessions of characteristics to obtain supreme enlightenment. Subhuti, if you think it while developing the perfect enlightenment mind, you will advocate annihilation of the Dharma. Do not have such a thought. Why? Because one who develops the supreme enlightenment mind does not advocate the annihilation of things. What does all this mean? What it means is, don't have the thought and say, oh, the Buddha does not rely on the 32 attributes. The Buddha's enlightenment does not come from the 32 attributes. The 32 attributes are emptiness, is void. So the 32 attributes is no good. Because the Tathagata, the ultimate truth, does not need the 32 attributes. So you should get rid of the 32 attributes thinking. Don't think about it. Don't even, it's void, it's empty. It's just a concept, it's void. If you think that way, that's again wrong. Don't think it that way. Why bandish that thought? Why should you bandish that thought from the mind? If you do, you would think that these characteristics are unimportant and do not result in enlightenment. But they are part of the enlightenment. They help enlightenment. They cannot be apart from the enlightenment. Yet they are not enlightenment per se. They are not enlightenment. If you annihilate these characteristics, you obstruct cause and effects. That means, on the one hand, don't attach to appearances and form. On the other hand, don't annihilate it. Don't deny it. You need appearances and form. It's just like a person with a diluted eyesight, with bad eyes, diluted eyesight. When that person sees the sky, he sees flowers in the sky. We see a flower in the sky, but it's because of his diluted eyesight. He sees flowers in the sky. And then he practices and say, oh, it's my eyes that are bad. So there's no such flower. So there's no such flower. You don't need to do that. Why? Because the flower does not exist in the first place. If you say, I want to annihilate the flower does not exist. No flower. You don't have to do that because that flower has never existed before. Why do you say, oh, the flower is gone? It's never there before. How can you say something is never there before? How can you say it's gone? If that flower is there before, you can say, that flower is there now because of my analysis, it's gone, it's gone. But that flower has never existed before. Something that has never existed before, how can you say that is not existent anymore? Do you see the logic? Because of the eyes, the illusory eye, the diluted eyes, to see a flower exist. You should know that the location that the flower occupies in the space, actually there's no flower. It's just an illusion. You know that you don't have to find emptiness for that flower. You don't have to empty out that flower. It's there, but it's immediately empty. It's there, but it's immediately gone. You don't have to say, I annihilate it. Now I use my analysis, it's gone. You don't have to say that. Because if your eyes are clear, there wouldn't be flowers. the location that flower takes, it has no flower. It's empty. Don't think that now I empty out the flower. It's never existed before. How can you say that something that has not been given birth to die? He wasn't born. That wasn't even born. How can you say that dies? Only if that's born, then you say that he's dead, he dies. Well, if we use that simile, everything we see here is illusory. It exists on cause and effect. And the form and appearances die, but that Tathagata doesn't die. That is eternity. That doesn't die. That road that gets enlightened. So, if you maintain that thought and say, Buddhism is just an abstract concept, the 32 attributes of form, no form, we must get rid of the forms. You don't have to get rid of it. There's nothing like in the beginning. There's no such flower in the beginning. Why do you have to get rid of it? You're making a mistake on another mistake. Thinking that is a flower is a mistake. Thinking that you already have annihilated the flower is another mistake. It's never there before. It's birthless. How can you say that birthless stuff dies or disintegrates or being eliminated? So you just let it come, let it go. When you purify your thought, there's no flower. The emptiness is there. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to analyze it. So, if someone thinks this way, Buddha is without form, it is emptiness, all these meritorious attributes have nothing to do with the cultivation, it's just a concept, it has no expression. If you think this way, you have mistaken the Buddha's saying. Don't think that way. It was not due to possession of the attributes that the Tathagata realized unexcelled perfect enlightenment, but unexcelled perfect enlightenment does not exclude the formation of these attributes. So in other words, if you think this way, you are denying causality. These attributes are not the real body, but they are manifestations of the real body. In other words, cause and effect exist, it doesn't disappear. There's still cause and effect, there's still causality. If you build up a lot of merits, meritorious deeds, you still enjoy auspiciousness of the world. You still enjoy the 32 attributes. In other words, if you don't kill animals, you enjoy longevity. If you always have endurances and don't get angry, you have good luck. If you're always praising people instead of criticizing and find faults about other people, you enjoy the good sound. All these exist. Don't destroy them. Don't destroy causality. In other words, if you work hard, you'll be rich. If you pay attention to your health, you're healthy. That's causality. Don't think that the 32 attributes are not important because that's not the Buddha. That's just a concept, that's just emptiness. Don't think it that way. If you think it that way, you fall into another trap of emptiness. So, although merits does not result in enlightenment, but merits do not disappear. Everything you do, meritorious, good effect will come out. But you don't attach to the good effects. In other words, the 32 attributes cultivation, you cultivate and you get the 32 attributes, meritorious attributes, but you don't attach to them. You still get reward. You still have the reward. It doesn't go away. That's the path of merits as opposed to the path of wisdom. In the path of wisdom, no attachment. in the path of merit, good cause comes up to good effect. Don't annihilate cause and effect. Everybody want to get my message? Get the message from the Diamond Sutra? There's one, you can't deny it. It comes. Not just like a concept, with no support.